Oh, it's Sunday morning. I just did a shot with my other camera, the GoPro, but I just wanted to give you an update of what happened yesterday. A little bit of a frustrating day in that I planned two things. I planned I couldn't actually do what I wanted. I wanted to go out and have an early morning coffee, and it's just not possible. About the earliest you're going to get a coffee here is probably around 9 a.m. Mainly because the Carrefour Express doesn't provide coffee and they're open early. It's strange because they're like a 7-Eleven, but they don't provide that particular service. So that's a bit of a worry. But so I did find there's a good roasted coffee place down the road, quite close to here, and they open at 10 o'clock. They open at 9 weekdays, but on the weekends businesses tend to open later, and so I got it. I didn't have time to really go down there. I had other stuff to do with my YouTubing and what have you. It takes up quite a bit of my time, to be quite frank, which is okay. I'm time rich. I can afford to. It's actually quite interesting because I'm actually watching a guy's YouTube channel. He deals with space and space industry news and what have you, and he calls his channel What About It. He's actually based in southern Germany, although he speaks perfect English because he's got relos in the States. But he was talking about, he had a live stream and he was actually chatting with his subscribers, and he was saying how much time it took him to do his videos. They're quite slick, they're really dense with information. A lot of people, you get a lot of waffle on YouTube. I'm probably one of them, but this guy puts a lot of time and effort into condensing the information, and so one of his short videos is full of a lot of information. I really appreciate that. I could see there was a lot of work there, but I didn't realise how much time he put into it. He claims with the shooting, the editing, and the sourcing of information, the research, it takes 30 hours for each episode. So he does two a week, and it consumes 60 hours of his time. He's married, he's got kids. I don't know how he does it. Seems like a really nice guy. And the good thing is that his YouTube channel is quite successful. He's shooting up with subscribers. He's got over 10,000 subscribers, and he deserves them. And he'll go from strength to strength. He said he added another 700 just in the last few days, and I've only got about 360 in total. It's taken me years, and so I'm not exactly breaking any records here at YouTube. I'm doing rather poorly, but I'm not doing it to. I've given up on chasing subs. It's just impossible. If I did some really outrageous stuff, I probably would get subs. But I think the other thing is, given my demographic, I'm an older guy, and I don't think YouTube is as popular with the older age groups. They generally they go for things like Facebook, or they watch TV. So it's a different type of demographic. And that's fine, it's no big deal. I'm grateful for the people who do watch me. I'm very appreciative. And if nothing else, what I'm doing with this channel is I'm providing myself with a record of my own travels, for instance. So now I'm OS again. This is a perfect opportunity to diarise all my travels and keep a good record. It's a hell of a lot easier than writing a diary in my lousy handwriting, which is what I've done in the past, but with the technology it makes it a lot better. And why not share it with a wider audience? And I haven't had many trolls, so that's not been an issue. And just I do get a little bit of feedback. We get some positive feedback, which is amazing. I'm really happy with that. So it's all good. But I'm in Seville now. Talk about what happened yesterday. That's the purpose of this video. And what happened yesterday was I planned to go and watch the football because the first qualifying finals with Richmond in it, which was against Brisbane, up in Brisbane, it was being played on Saturday night in Australia, and that happened to be at 11:25 a.m. our time, so it was almost midday here. So what I did was I walked all the way to the O'Neill's pub. I've got one that's just a couple of blocks over here. It only takes about 5 minutes to walk to. This one's about 25 minutes away. It's quite a distance, but it's a nice walk, and Seville's a beautiful city, so I'm quite happy to. And I do need the exercise. I've put on more weight than I expected. So I'm quite happy to do a bit of walking, and that's one of the great things about travel. So I planned to get there then, because they open at 9 o'clock during the week. So I thought, well, 11:25, that's pretty safe. But stupidly, I didn't check it online. And if I had, I would have known that they actually open at midday. So I turned up there, and of course the doors are closed. I was quite surprised. And the other annoying thing was there was no signage on there to say what their opening hours were. So if that signage had been there and said they were open at 12, I would have just waited. But I had no idea. It could have been 2 or 3 in the afternoon for all I knew. Or they may even be shut for the day, but I thought that was unlikely. But worst case scenario was they'd probably open at 5, for instance. But it didn't make sense to me because they were open at 9 during the week. I thought they'd be early openers during the weekend as well. But no. So I traipsed all the way back, pretty exhausted. And then I went off to and listened to the second quarter of the match because I missed out on the first quarter online. So that worked out okay. And then I fronted up to the local Neil's, which was open at 12:30. And I got to see the second half of the match there. And that worked out well in a way. I was pretty exhausted, but a nice exhaustion, sort of a bit of endorphins were flowing because of all the walking I'd done. And I had a couple of small beers there, and they were £2.80 each, so they weren't quite as expensive as the bottles I got at the other place, which were 3. And it was a more interesting beer anyway, so that worked out well. But more importantly, there were a couple of Aussies there as a middle-aged couple from Adelaide, and I had a bit of a chat with them, and they were really into the football, but they weren't actually supporters of either Richmond or Brisbane, but of course they supported Brisbane, so they were the opposition as far as I was concerned, because they liked them more than Richmond, probably because Richmond's been more successful, I think. And Brisbane hasn't been up in the top of the ladder for a while. So anyway, we were watching and chatting, and it was interesting chatting to them about their travel experiences and what have you. And they met a woman who was I think she's in her 50s, and she was travelling by herself over to London, and she had the same experience as me. When she turned up there, it took her a day and a half to recover from the flight, because it is a long flight. So it's good to see it wasn't just me, and I've got a few years up on her, so I actually feel even better. So, but then again, the 80-year-old who was going to the Camera with that woman that I chatted to from the Sunshine Coast on the flight over, she's really gutsy. 80-year-old going on that walk. It's about I don't know 100. I think it was 250 kilometres or so you have to walk over a period of 3 weeks. So it's that's pretty gutsy for an 80-year-old. Anyway, yesterday worked out well in the end. I finished off. I bought another baguette and finished off my greens and my ham and Gouda cheese. Very nice. And it was a good day, and I actually slept for quite a bit of time after having the rest of my wine with that baguette. I reckon I slept in the afternoon for about 4 hours, so I couldn't get much sleep overnight. It just ruined my night's sleep. But yeah, I'm feeling okay at the moment, and I will be going to a tapas bar finally, the one round the corner, which should be open at midday. I did check the time on that one. Thank God for Google. And so everything's fine. The next thing I want to do is take this camera out and get some background scenery shots, because it is a beautiful city, and with the tripod I'll have a nice steady shot, and it'll just make a nice background. And I'll put my ugly face in a little postage stamp size insert with these particular reports. So I think it'll make a nice sort of video backdrop for rather than me just rambling and you get a picture of me in my flat, my apartment. I think that'll work out better. So I'm going to head off and get a couple of shots now, and start building up a bit of a library that way. It's Sunday morning, a little after 8 o'clock. Looked like an overcast sky to me earlier, but the sun's just come up, so maybe it's not an issue. This is the glamorous part of travel. Got to take my rubbish to the bins at the end of the street. And that's one of the glamorous jobs you have when you actually rent an apartment rather than being in a hotel. So there you go. Although I don't know if I'll have to do it in Vietnam, because that's also an apartment but it has 24-hour reception, so I think it'll be a bit different. But there's the end of the street. It's very nice. Dripping with history. Love it. Yeah, it was good to meet up with a couple of fellow Aussies yesterday for the first time while watching the football at the local O'Neill's pub. And they seem like nice people. And we shared a few ideas about travel as well. So it was quite interesting talking to them. It sounded like they're quite well-travelled people. And here are the bins. I don't know if they're different. They're the same colour. It doesn't appear to be one's disposal, one's not. I don't know. I'll just give it a go. Oh, it's a pain in the ass. The bloody supermarket I discovered that I know that sells the greens I really crave is closed today. At least they're closed at this stage of the day. It's late Sunday morning. So that's a pain. I didn't expect that. I'm getting bloody stymied all the time here with the opening hours and what have you. I'll get it sorted out. It's only my first few days. There's supposed to be another supermarket up here around this area, so I thought I might as well have a look, see if we can find it. If not, well, I was going to go to a tapas place today, and if they've got some greens on the menu, that'd be good. But I really would like to have something. Unfortunately, I ran out on Saturday. I should have bought it yesterday. Bought there. Never assume something's going to be open when you're in a foreign country. You just don't know. But it's frustrating. I like to eat healthy, but they're making it hard. Anyway, I'll just go a little bit further up. See any sign of a supermarket? Unfortunately, they don't seem to sell that sort of stuff at the Carrefour Express, which I know will be open, but I haven't seen anything like that. Those greens that are at the other supermarket. Gee, they take their Sundays seriously over here. Even Burger King's closed right now. About 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning. That wouldn't be the case in Australia. But, I guess I'm in a different country, different customs. I mean, it's even worse in Portugal. They really take their Sundays seriously. But, supposedly, the tapas bar around the corner, it's reasonably priced, one I've been meaning to go to, is open at midday today. Fingers crossed. Well, if the Carrefour Express is closed, then I know it's the end of the world. They are always open, so yes, that would be a blow. Well, fingers crossed. I've looked. There's supposed to be some other places up here, but again, they may not be open today. So I did find the other supermarket, the Ingles one. Found the location of that, but it's supposed to be pretty pricey, and it's right in the middle of a department store. But at least I know where it is. That's good. Just exploring and finding a few places. I've got plenty of time. No rush. Yeah. Fairly quiet. You get pockets of activity where you've got coffee places open, but apart from that, pretty quiet. Well, I just discovered they don't have rounding rules here, so if you actually have an item that's like 69 euros, they actually do give you change of 70 euros. So you get a little bullet which is worth €1. Oh, it's all this annoying change. Yeah, something said for that rounding rule. I think it's quite a good rule to alleviate all that. Well, we had to because we got rid of copper, but they haven't done that over here. They've still got copper coins, so yeah, it's you've got to wonder whether it's worth it. But always learning when you travel. There's something different. I can't remember all this from my previous trip. It's just too long ago. So there you go, bike tracks everywhere. Very bike-friendly city, and people do use them too. Use them a lot more than they do in Australia. But then again, the infrastructure is much better, and I think that's the goal. Good weather, infrastructure. People are going to go out and use their bikes.
especially during summer. Although it does get nippy here, because I was told by the guy who introduced me to my apartment, he said that it gets cold in winter. I think he said it didn't worry him so much, but some people, that's why they've got a reverse cycle unit in my apartment. It's a bit of a dead area. There's nothing to be said for this area. It has none of the charm of the historic centre. Probably not in Centro now, probably in a slightly different area. Probably just moved a little further north of it. But I'd like to go down a different way anyway, see another side of town. I don't recall ever walking down here before. So. But back there, there's the bus station. I remember that. It's closer to where I used to stay. So, yeah. This is a bit of foliage along the river. I look after their rivers a bit better than they do in Vietnam. To be expected. Some big bars back there too, but they all seem shut. And again, it could be just because it's Sunday. And anyway, a lot of bars don't open until, say, maybe, you know, a varying time between midday and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So, all depends. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you think there's anything there of use to you, or entertainment or whatever. And either do that or give me a thumbs up, or if you're feeling really energetic, do both. That'd be great. But please don't ignore me. That's the worst thing you can do on YouTube, is be ignored.